Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our first Power of Women in Data series. I think there is a bit of story behind this series. It's like this is a series something I wanted to start for a very long time, but I think this whole lockdown kind of helped me to by seeing how many online sessions going on, and I thought, okay, probably this series is a fantastic series to actually have it online that gives us chance to get more amazing women on the series. And I shared the idea with James, and James loved it, and he said like that's a fantastic idea, yes, let's do it. And then I shared the idea with many other women in the community that I thought probably will be what they think about it. And when I shared the idea, they all supported it. They all loved the idea. They all said, this is fantastic. And so finally, there we go. We are here. And I'm like super excited to start this series with Melissa because I personally really like Melissa's work. I've been following her for many years. And I thought, yeah, it would be amazing to start with Melissa. I'm supposed to be doing these screens, changing my slides, which I haven't said. So there you go. We have a website, so that's where we're going to be keeping all the recordings, and we have YouTube at some point whenever I think mostly James, because James is very good with all these things. When we master the YouTube live, probably we will move into the YouTube live. But for now, we are sticking with Teams. Um, so as I said, I approached many women, and there are so many women out there. These are just a sample of pictures I could gather today. And so, yeah, there are so many women I approached, and there are many of them are happy to come and talk on this series. So please stay tuned because we have amazing lineup for I think we have lineup already planned for the end another 10 months. So it's going to be exciting. And so I think how I encourage everyone to participate in it is you could tweet about it. We have a hashtag called Power of Women in Data. So please tweet about it. That's how we could reach more people and participate, ask questions, and it's about, as the name says, it's about women and also data. It's like we are hosting. The speakers are mostly women, but it doesn't mean it's only women oriented or anything like that. It is just about how we can inspire each other by sharing our success stories and things around it. So so that's why as I said, we are starting the series with Melissa. And yeah, that's please follow Melissa on Twitter because she shares amazing stuff, and also her dog pictures. And and she has amazing content on her website. And she wrote well, just to talk about Melissa, Melissa has been a MVP for a very long time. She has been active in the community for a very, very long time. I think she's a data architect, and I think her current focus is Power BI, but her blog, there is a resources section on her blog where she has this I don't know, like a PDFs that you can download, which explains Power BI on one single page. I don't know how many times I went to that resources section and get that one. It's like whenever I go to client, whenever they ask me something about, I always point everyone to that resource section. Okay, look at this PDF and you will understand it. And there is another amazing thing where I really like from you, Melissa, is the white paper you wrote about the enterprise Power BI framework and everything with Chris Webb. So that's it's again one of my go-to white paper all the time. So before we actually get into the actual session, today's agenda is so we have a quick Q&A. Me and James are going to talk about, we have a couple of questions that we want to ask Melissa. It's about career, data, and probably some fun questions. And then we will jump into session. So shall we start with the questions? Is that okay, Melissa?
Works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready, James?
Yeah. Shall I kick off? All right. Yeah. Well, I think Prafi, as Prafi said, you're a big name in the data community, and I know I've personally been following you for a long time. But maybe for those who haven't come across you before, maybe you could talk a little bit about yourself and how you got started.
Sure. So how I actually got started was as an accountant. So like many people that didn't start in IT but ended up there, I'm one of those. And so as you can imagine, an accountant does a lot of reporting and working with numbers. Didn't really think of myself as a data person initially, though, but over time I started doing things that you would associate with a power user. Access databases, importing data into the system, things like that. And so found myself in this department at a university. We called ourselves accounting systems, and we were kind of a bridge between the users and IT. And I didn't really know that that was a thing way back then, but that's how I got to know some IT people, which is how I ended up in my first IT job, which was actually a web-focused help desk role. It didn't last long because they came to me and said, can you figure out how to build one of these data warehouses? And so they sent me to a Kimball class, and that basically, somewhat luck and maybe, you know, somewhat just good fortune, I got started on the right foot, and sort of the rest is history in terms of being interested in data and architecture and the end-to-end stack of it all to get it done.
Awesome, thank you. So how did you get started in the community?
In the community, so I moved from St. Louis, Missouri I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. And I moved here about 11 years ago now. And when I moved, I said, I really want to change some things, start to get to know more people, and gosh darn it, I'm going to start blogging. And I got really lucky. Those of you that have been around the community a long time might recognize Wayne Snyder. He used to be heavily involved with PASS, and he was an MVP, and he was very, very supportive. And I worked with him at a small consulting firm here, and just kind of by having people around me gave me confidence. It wasn't just me here in my little home office saying, yeah, let me do it. I had some friends at work basically that gave me confidence, and we jumped in and started doing it. And what's funny is I looked up this morning because of the questions I knew you were going to ask. My very first blog post I ever posted was almost 10 years ago, will be in August, which wow. I had not realized till I looked it up.
Oh, that's amazing.
That is amazing. So in that 10 years of blogging and being members of the community, what out of all of those many blog posts and things that you've done, what are you most proud of?
Well, you know, starting to blog got me starting to present, and you know, got me to know various people or other people just to know of me, which, you know, opened up, I don't even know how many doors, right? I've gotten a couple of jobs, what I think of as being relatively easily. And by that, I mean, without rigorous tech interviews and that sort of thing. And so after all of that, and I wouldn't have even 2 years ago been able to articulate that, but what I'm most proud of now is basically that I had the guts to just say, okay, I want to start my own business, which I did 9 months ago, which has been fantastic. But, you know, all of that really led up to it. And I didn't really know that at the time, though.
Nice. So it's like, as you just mentioned, you have your own business and you are quite active in the community. You wrote this amazing white paper. I sit down to write a blog post. It takes me 2 weeks to write a paragraph. And how do you balance all these things, like, you know, all these demands from the community work and running your own business, all this at the same time?
Yeah, well, so first of all, to me, a big reason that I started my own business is to have control over all of my own time and decisions. And so part of that means I get to decide where I invest my time, and I'm trying to do that very smart. So part of that is I've been narrowing my scope on what I focus on, backing away from working in the detail level on some of the Azure services and being satisfied with, you know, the 10,000 foot awareness level, right? I think with the pace of change, we have all been doing some version of that. And then also trying to reuse what I can. So something that you all wouldn't know yet that I know is that I've been a little bit more active in the community lately with a few blogs and videos, and those are all the exact same topics that you're going to see me release some other training and offerings and such later on in this fall when I'm a little bit ready. So it's all going to line up and make sense, but it kind of lets me double dip, if you will.
That's great. So you definitely like all this experience you have in all these years obviously probably helped you to think that way, to choose what prioritizes and all those things. So as you see, like, you know, I think we are still kind of in a male dominate from the numbers wise, like, you know, we are like, there are more men when you go to work or when you go to client place than women. So what do you think, like, what do we need to do to inspire and like encourage more ladies who wants to, so how can we inspire, or probably somebody who wants to like look at you and like, how can I be Melissa? How can I become a Melissa? What would you recommend them? Is there any tips you want to share?
Yeah, and I guess partly, you know, if we're thinking about young people first, because that's of course where it gets started. It dawned on me sometime in the last few years that I was one of those girls that said, "Oh, I'm not good at math." And so guess what? Then I didn't try very hard. And so that whole mindset about, is it effort? And, you know, changing your mindset to that it's not that I'm not good at it, it's that, oh, maybe I just don't love it. And of course, the irony of it all is that I became an accountant, although you really don't have to
exactly
math to be an accountant. So anyways, that's kind of part of it. But one very cool thing is, prior to launching my own company, I worked for Blue Granite for most of the last 5 years. And my very last project there, and it was a Power BI deployment and governance kind of project, there was 3 of us on the project. And guess what? All 3 of us were female. And that's the first time in my career that I've had a 3-person project and all of us were female. So that was super exciting.
Cool. That's great. Well, I think so I think we asked quite a few serious questions so far. Maybe try to move into data or some kind of fun questions. Shall we, James?
Yeah. So I guess before we get into the session, let's go a little bit techie for a minute. What are your let's do top 3 favorite features of Power BI.
All right, so I picked 3 that are all completely commingled and interrelated. And those of you that have been following my blog will not be surprised at all at the 3 that I've chosen. So the first one is shared data sets, meaning I can reuse a data set across different workspaces by multiple reports, which is facilitated by, number 2, live connections, meaning I can connect a report to an existing data set without having to duplicate the data inside of that report file, which is easier with item number 3, data set endorsements. When we can certify a data set, the people that are creating reports have an easier time finding the data that they should be using. So shared data sets, live connections, and the certified endorsements are my 3 choices.
Nice.
And beautifully linked. Love it.
I know. Yeah.
Well, I guess given they're all key facets of the Power BI service. Shall we let Melissa get on with what she's here for?
Get on to the session? Yes,
start her
yes,
session.
totally. So I think, so today, I'm sure people already saw what she's talking about. So she's talking about how to administer Power BI and what you need to know around it.